Morning. Well, more afternoon. It's 11:45. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is when you're viewing. It's probably Alexa. What time is it in New York?
In New York, it's 6:44 a.m.
Morning in the US. Well, East Coast anyway. So, yeah, it'd be early hours on the West Coast. These are my lives, and I thought, when I was just about to go live, I'm still down in my celery, so I'm kind of a little bit behind today. I fasted this morning, and in all honesty, I realised I snapped back into the pattern of picking up my phone. My charger's in here, and obviously our bedroom in the other room, and I was thinking, I'll just take the phone in and I'll have it. And I had it in the bedroom last night. I've not been doing that, and it's been a really good habit to have to charge it at night away from me. I don't have a problem waking up as such, because I wake up normally early. My body wakes me up. I'm generally up to go to the bathroom. So it's a question of then staying awake to get back into those habits. And we've been talking about habit stacking in the members group. So I thought I'd share and continue along that vein. But also, in our meeting on Friday, we were discussing the symbolisms of the crow. And this morning, I've shared it on my page, actually. I shared this story I come across. So yeah, I still, it was beneficial, but I'm aware of this habit of social media and how easy it is to get down the social media rabbit hole. Not that it's not interesting, and I still get flow stuff comes to me, ideas come to me, and I was doing work. So I like cropping and editing video and stuff this morning. So it took me a while, even though I was up at 7:30, or 7 o'clock, I suppose, when I woke up this morning, Sunday morning. It was about 10:30. My daughter was like, "Oh, Mum, you've got to go and drop me at her friends," and she's at her friends today. So I thought, right, let me down my lime, because I'm out of lemon. I need to do my shopping, and I've just juiced the celery. A literally perfect timing. As I walked back through the door, the alarm for the 30-minute timer had gone off for me to down my celery. So I've just got that here, and I'll sip that while I'm talking to you. So not more sipping, but I wanted to talk about the spiritualism and spiritual meanings and symbolism. So I mentioned the crow, and I'm not going to go into that. I think we had a huge thing on that with our members on Friday's meeting. It came up. And so this video that I shared was of a crow cleaning itself with ants. And I'd never seen this before, but apparently if a crow feels unwell, it goes to an ant nest, or it can do this, and there's like a little thing on it, and it spreads its wings and sits very still, and it allows the ants to crawl all over it, because they have, and I can't remember the chemical, but I just had this discussion because we've got ants coming in, and I was looking up vegan friendly alternatives to these poisons and stuff, and different versions, and then it suddenly dawned on me after seeing this post this morning, what's the spiritual meaning? Like the automatic thing is to, oh right, well, you need to be more tidy, you need to leave less things out, but actually, and I'm going to read some of this to you, because ants hold various spiritual meanings, often representing hard work, discipline, unity, and the ability to manage in difficult times. They can also symbolize resourcefulness. Do you think about how resourceful they are? They move. And because I've been doing this research on the ants, in order to kind of get rid of them in a safe and healthy way, I was thinking, well, how, didn't want to kill them. And a lot of even the sustainable versions are like, oh yeah, you can use this in your house, it won't hurt your pets, but it would still kill the ants' nest. And I was like, I don't want to do that. It actually says that they will move. And I did get frustrated in the end, and Simon has got the toxic one that he put on the outside, and the ant poison was there, and I was feeling guilty about it and killing them, and went into some whole about it all. However, all they did is changed their trajectory to move in a way that avoided the poison. And I thought, how awesome is that? If you think about that, this is why, as a spiritual meaning and symbolism of the ant, of how resourceful they are and how resourceful we can be as humans if we take on those characteristics. So they symbolize resourcefulness, for foresight, and the importance of collaboration. In some cultures, like Hinduism and Islam, ants are seen as good omens, and feeding them is believed to bring good luck and harmony. Now, I talk about with what I do with like the rituals, and one of the things that is mentioned in terms of energetically as a ritual doing for negativity and getting rid of negativity is like when you put out like your food bin or you leave offerings, the whole symbolism behind that is that you're offering that energy. And you think about it, it's for the insects and stuff that they would then take that and feed that. And we think of those little things as little bits and pieces like that would be nibbling away at us energetically on an insect sort of working within our field. So on an energetical level, some of the terms of the way you look at what we would deem darkness or negative energy that feeds on that is to do with it's not done in a conscious way. That's just their way of doing things. That is like a tree that has these insects on it. When you look at being more syntropic and working with nature, you kind of go in the flow of that. Actually, you don't want to kill anything off, because actually you kill that off, it creates a problem. And obviously I look at a lot of this in Nature Fan and Live Love Lead page, where I'm sharing these posts about how we're not using poisons because of how it affects the soil and stuff. So a lot of this sort of information is kind of there in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, that relates to that. And actually they benefit from being there and being together. It's looking back at the ant symbolism, how they're saying it's a symbol of good luck. And obviously it means there's an abundance of food around if you've got things left out. Obviously you want a nice tidy house, and cleanliness as opposed to godliness is another thing. Oh, Larry. She didn't like that, sorry. We used to keep an eye on my 7 furry babies and keep sipping. So I just thought that's really, really good. And so if you're seeing this and you've got ant problems, it's that time of year. One, like me, I was looking at the alternative lime juice and bicarbonate powder with what was it? I think it was dishwasher soap. Don't quote me. I think there might have been one added. There was something else that you added. I just googled on YouTube, so you could do the same for vegan friendly like ant to get rid of ants. And then I tried that, but I just loved the fact that they just went round it. And it was a reminder, and I wanted to share that reminder. So the symbolism of the ants, hard work and discipline. Ants are renowned for their tireless work ethic and structured lives, making them symbolize of diligence and discipline. I had this conversation with a friend of mine, because obviously having your own business, working with this, and she said there's this thing that it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. So people don't see what goes on behind. They see that, oh, that person seems to seemingly be like successful all of a sudden. And actually it's not that. It's because they've diligently been working on the algorithms, maybe working through what works, what doesn't work, and kind of shifting around and working through these things. So it makes me think of that reminder of source going, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is I'm doing, whatever it is you're doing, this is a message that's coming through, that your diligence is about to pay off. So, and those structures that we have putting things in place. And we've been looking at different habits. Like I said, the email I sent out was for 12 habits, daily habits that can totally transform your life. My favorite out of those 12, I would say, if I could pick one of the 12 that I would say to everyone to do, it would be meditation. 3 minutes meditation a day. Even if you start with, you do a minute in the morning, a minute at lunch, and a minute before you go to bed. If you're someone that doesn't meditate, that's 60 seconds. You've listened to me for longer than that. So it's just taking that and breathing and being present in the moment can really shift your stress levels. Utility and cooperation is another symbol. The colony-based society and coordinated efforts highlights the importance of unity and teamwork. In Egypt, when we were with those 2,500 people and we created this star outside the pyramids, one of the things that I noticed in terms of aligned cooperation is what I would say about, if you've got 2,500 people, you think it could be chaos. It wasn't chaos. Everyone was completely in their alignment. And when you watched how we literally did this circle, created this flower of life there, and none of us had practice. We hadn't practiced a week to do it. We just did it then in the moment. Everyone worked together. It was beautiful to see the energy of cooperation when people come together. You see this happen. Unfortunately, you tend to see it when there's horrendous things happen. You see how when people are in their heart, because their heart has been opened by something horrific happening, that they come together and they work together. But to see it happening because people are coming together, because they're choosing to come together, deliberately creating in that way, it was amazing. So I would say that's a beautiful symbol. Where can you in your life co-create and be in a kind of unity consciousness with others, within your business, within your family, and within your relationships? And a reminder with regards to the ants. So resourcefulness and foresight. Ants are known for gathering food in the summer for the winter, demonstrating resourcefulness and the ability to plan for the future. Where can you plan and put things into place? If you're in a state of fear, generally when we're in fear and ego energy, we aren't able to make decisions in the same way that we are when we're in flow energy and we're out of that, in that part of the brain. Just you think differently. You don't actually think because you're in like fight or flight, get out of here, get survival mode. And if you're in survival mode because you're worried about money, you're worried about a job stability, or you're worried about feeding your family or things that are going on, traumas going on, all of those puts you out of the state of flow. But if when you're in flow, you have this sort of plan of action, if you like, that you've got structures in place to help you. Maybe it's you've set provisions aside, that each month you put a little bit aside, so when a rainy day does come, you've got money and you feel that's your safety net if it's a financial thing. Maybe, and you want to save for something, so you know that you can go and you've got the money for that. Another thing is food, and I think about this when I'm talking about abundance and these identity shifts with the members and my followers. It's about, okay, well, how can I feel abundant when I feel lack? How can I switch up that identity and have that feeling? And one of the ways that I did this was growing things. When you're growing things, you see how much of abundance of food, and actually you're doing twofold here. You're being resourceful like the ant because you're creating. I'm trying to do zero waste. You realize how much waste we have in the kitchen and just how much the things that most people just throw in the bin are like usable. I mean, I'm looking over there. My son has left a banana skin on the side. Well, vegan bacon you can make out of banana skin. You can use it for cleaning. That's just one example. The oranges, the lemons, for example, the lemons that I have daily with my 32 ounces in the morning, I was like, oh God, I'm throwing so many away. So what I started to do is keep the lemons after I've strained out the juice, put them in the freezer. You can grate them Firstly, to put them over food for that lemon, and that lemon oil, essential oil, is abundant in that. You can also use them. So if any of you use those plastic, what they call, I can't remember the name of them, what you use for cleaning, you can use the lemon itself, and it mixes the juice, and it gets grime off, especially if you're using things like bicarbonate soda, and then it's mixing that together. So on the grill or on something to get hard stuff off. And then so they kind of get used 3 or 4 times before they're put in the food bin to be recycled in the food bin. And if you've got a compost heap, then that's another place that can go to create earth. So you're not buying compost if you're creating it. And I think even now there's I don't know how much it would be. I'd love one, but they've got a machine that you can actually put food in, and it creates compost from the food. So I thought, and it creates it in the seeds. I've been collecting the seeds to create a seed bank, and those seeds, then you can grow those seeds, create lemon trees. You can even sell the lemon trees, like just to locals, or give them away. And it's that feeling of abundance from just one lemon drink. I've got hundreds of seeds. So it creates that actual reality of the abundance in the now. It creates that energy and that identity of how much we have. So that's the resourcefulness, but it's also about that planning and allowing that, well, I'm going to collect those seeds. I've got seeds. If ever there was a shortage of seeds, and I know that last year the farmers had a bit of an issue in the UK with stuff, then I have stuff that then is there. So you get past that scarcity energy and thought forms. Patience and resilience. Now, patience, I know they say patience is something that not all of us have. Sometimes we can get, I want it to happen now. I want to manifest it now in my life. I want that money now. I want that love in my bed. I want that. I want. But it's that desire. Well, we're constantly step one moments, as Abraham Hicks would say, those launching of those rockets of desire. But having the patience to see, to wait. And one of the things that we teach, and that's brilliant about Qigong, is about knowing the seasons and the cycles, and actually watering a seed when you're watching it grow. You have to have patience. You don't go, oh, I put it in the ground. Why is it not there now? Why is it not grown? It's part of the pleasure is watering it, putting that energy into that focus of whatever it is, the relationship, the business, whatever it is you're trying to create in your life, your health, your body being in its most authentic self, as that's my page, and being aligned in your spiritual processes. But it's the learning and the process on the way as we're watering that growth and seeing it grow, and then milking the pleasure of all those moments that you see the fruits of your labor. That patience and resilience has been something that has been a word that's been banding around since 2020 and lockdown, that having resilience is really important. What is resilience to you? It's to me, growing up with the situation and my mum, and all the different things that happened through my youth, have all been beautiful lessons and growth to be on the path of who I have been, in the becoming of who I am now, that have given me strength and understanding, ability to work with my clients, to understand from a level of when I was in that situation and where I've been. It's seeing the value in the traumas, in those upsetting times, in how you can reframe things. But also, I was asked recently in a course that I was doing I can't remember what the question was actually. Why is it you do what you do? And obviously, like with regards to coaching and that desire for wanting to help people. When did it first start? Now, warning, I'm going to share a traumatic experience. For those that it's not traumatic so much for me anymore, I'm used to talking about it, and I use it as a growth point. I don't share it to emphasize the victimhood of this, because I certainly don't identify with being a victim. I reframed it a long, long time ago, but I see the value in what happened to me. as something, as a growth point. But I realised when I'd been sexually abused around 8 years old, not by anyone in my family, but by a family friend. And when it happened, even the I suppose 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, over 4 years, I processed this, worked through it, and got to the point where I felt like I wanted to help others. That was at 12. So even in looking and analysing that journey of why do I do what I do, it comes and stems back from the realisation at the time when I'd got into secondary school and I realised this was happening to a friend with her stepdad. She'd been confiding in me, vice versa. I became this dynamic of the listening, realising in my own path that happens to others and not wanting it to happen to anyone else, wanting to protect others. And that was an ongoing theme, that I'd wanted to protect my friends from this guy who had affected me instinctively. I had realised then, actually, by sharing, it helped her. We helped each other by sharing that sense of community. So that was awoken back at 12. So obviously doing that with what I do with women's circles now. But also that we can reframe an experience to be a benefit. We can look at things from a different perspective. And I love the expression, I can't remember where I heard it. I think it was Matthias, to be honest, my teacher. The shit in our life, or the crap in our life is what helps us grow. It's the manure for the shifts and the change. And I've quoted that often, many times since. If you can reframe things, and this is a term in psychology that's used to reframe stuff. So, resourcefulness. Moving on, so 3 more left for the spiritual significance of ants. So, spiritual guidance. The presence of ants can be seen as synchronicities or messages from the universe, encouraging introspection and reflection on life's path. Well, reflection, I mean, I'm always putting posts with reset, reframe, these words that I use often in the language of my branding, which I've looked at recently, in how I speak about to people what it is I do, resetting, realigning, but reflection. We do this in our workshops all the time. We look at where we've been in order to then move forward. Now, one of the things that I think when you're on that spiritual development path and you're utilizing this is that you can sometimes get caught in that trap of spent in the healing path and always bringing that stuff to. It's great if you are using, if it's helping, if it can utilize like I just did then. But that's why I wanted to emphasize that's not something that I spend time crying over or affecting me. It doesn't energetically affect me. I've detached from that and shifted, transmuted what it meant and reframed it in my own mind. In my own identity, it means something different now. It was a thing that happened to me along the way. It doesn't define me. It hasn't become my defining as a child of abuse or whatever. It's not. And I'm not saying that for those of you that there are people out there that I know that have been through that are stuck in that energy. But I'm saying it is easy for people to get trapped in that stories of it becomes who they are. And we had we did about this in one of the other lives. And I save that for a day perhaps, but it's moving past this. It's how do we re-signify what you've been through? And it's the processing, time to process. And we all need time to process. If we've had a shock of loss of a loved one is a good example. We feel that hole has gone where we've been energetically flowing that love and that co-creative energy with that person. And because societally we think of if someone's no longer here, they're no longer here. Whereas I've obviously energetically, to me, I feel more connected to source and I can tune into the energy of that which was a physical person, that person's energy is what I tune into when they're here. Therefore, when their physical body's gone, I'm still tuned to their energy, which is part of all that is, that unity, understanding that we all evolve. And I know that I'm kind of dipping into belief systems and religions. There could be triggers around that in itself in what I'm saying. But that has always helped me. For example, in the loss of my mum, feel closer to her in her death than I ever did in her life, and feel her presence. And any time I got emotional around that time, especially because she shared her transition into non-physical with me energetically, so I felt it and felt the complete, because she was in a low frequency of her sickness when she was on this physical plane. When she then transitioned, I felt that strong jump as she did, and that was shared with me. So it was a beautiful experience for me to have. And if I get emotional about the missing, that which was here in physical, I feel this warmth of love to reminder wrap around me, and knowing that I'm here. I'm here. I may be now connected to source, which some people might call heaven, universe, or whatever you call, but the frequency that was with her, that is in the resonance as is always. Energy does not disappear, it just transformed. It's the way I explained it to the children, because they were quite small. I said, think of a candle. The wax doesn't disappear. It doesn't magically disappear. It transforms into its energy into the fire. And that's what happens when we die. And they got that analogy seemed to work for them. So, yeah. And good omens. So in some cultures, ants are associated with good fortune and positive energy. So this is my messages. Me talking about ants is a message to you. And one of the things I know, that around the 31st, when I wrote the energy report for this month, which I call like a energy weather report, if you like, when I tune into the energy of May for the collective, around the end of May, 30th, 31st, there's what I've referred to, and I've been trying to share clips from the video version of the text report I speak of in my Patreon, for my Patreon members, where there is a magical hangover. And I don't mean a hangover as in there's heavy energy, high energy downloads that we sometimes get where we feel really tired in our body because we're leveling up with the resistance. This last 2 weeks of May, or the last week now of May, are energetically divine support of the towards the collective. It's so strong. It's there if you reach out. The third eye connection for the whole month was really strong. It's there. But what might be challenging is if you're someone that might get a bit too, like myself sometimes, caught up in that high frequency energy. So I naturally, it's probably why I'm an earth sign, ground that energy in and down. It can challenge your solar plexus. So it's that, yeah, I'm all this beautiful dreamlike energy, channeling that, utilizing that, allowing it to support you. And that's there. But it is certainly a beautiful omen. And around the 30th, beautiful surprises is what I put there for collective cooperation, because everyone, whether you're spiritually minded or not, are feeling it. So really. And then some interpreters, particularly in certain spiritual traditions, it's associated ants in dreams, if you're dreaming of ants, with a negative outcome, or curses. However, and I know a friend of mine, because I don't like to mention names on here, so she's fearful of ants, in particular red ants, which we don't have here in the UK, thankfully. But because energetically I link her to a culture where they are, I think that fear comes from past patterned energies, remembered traumas that transcend the physical of this life. So it's a picking up of a collective. So when we talk about, and I've got videos on this, so I won't go too much into this, but when we talk about past life memories, and I remember 5 of mine distinctively, very much so the death and the endings, the trauma, it's because it's a high frequency. It stays in the cellular memory, and it can run through the ancestral line to remember that. For example, science tells us that certain cultures that have lived, I think there's an area, I think it's around Poland or Norway, in the Europe somewhere, I can't remember which country it was. One of these countries, they'd had loads of wars, like thousands and thousands of years. This territory was known for its wars. They genetically are predispositioned through the genetics to handle stress better. They just handle stress better because their body has learned through the nervous system over time. That has been something that's been passed down. And that's an example of how our biological memory of this. Women often feel, females in particular, this struggle with speaking their truth, because in the past there's lots of women that were murdered for speaking their truth. So that kind of, you can see how it plays out, if whether you're looking at it in psychology of the being, if you like. But in terms of energetics, we resonate mostly with the frequency that we pick up in this. So the lifetimes I remember are in accordance to this life that I'm living now and the path that I'm on now. It's not that I didn't have other experiences in other lifetimes, but I remember the priestess because that's the journey that I'm on now. So the frequency that we remember, it's why you get maybe 500 people remembering their Cleopatra, is the way Matthias says it. So it's because not necessarily the soul of you, but you can tap into the energy in the Akashic energy and go into that. And whatever I was shown in my past life memories always helped me in the moment of the now. So I've never been shown anything that didn't have relevance to this life. For example, pre-COVID was the time that I remembered the Turkish guy, Hermetic guy, life. And there's a whole video of me talking about that, but literally his gift to me through his eyes is remembering no fear of death. And as I jumped off the cliff, or he jumped off the cliff and I did it with him, because it's hard to distinguish because I was seeing it through and remembering it through him, he found it so funny. He thought he'd be back in 40 years, and that was like 400 years ago. So it was like, even he was smiling, but it was like it took us 400 years what he thought would be now in like the next full incarnation. And the Hermetics, they would remember all of theirs. I don't necessarily remember the whole lifetime, but relevance to part of that. But it made me laugh because then I knew I had to not fear death. I had no fear of death because I know we are eternal. So, and that was gifted to me at a time when everybody else was fearing possible death. So it was such a beautiful thing. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that because that's it. So those, just to recap, the spiritualism of the ants are hard work, discipline, unity, the ability to manage difficult times. They also symbolize resourcefulness, foresight, and the importance of collaboration. In some cultures like Hinduism and Islam, the ants are a symbol of good luck. Feeding them is believed to bring good luck and harmony. So you can give thanks and not curse them. And as I say, look at the alternative vegan-friendly options to move them around. Anyway, back to my celery, and thanks for joining me. Have a beautiful, soulful Sunday. And members, if any of you are live, I can't see any of my members live with me at the moment, but I shall be live shortly for our accountability workout on Qigong. Have a beautiful day. Figure out how to stop this because it's on my iPad. Oh, there we go. Blessings.